Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Rumble. I'm joined alongside Jacob in Wisconsin up there in enemy territory on the Minnesota border. He's got some paving going on outside of his house. I'm dog sitting four pups tonight with the wife out of town. So this thing's going to be as unprofessional as you've ever heard. I just promise you that. I'm ready for it. Jacob, how you doing, man?
Repaving. Good way of phrasing.
That's a great way of saying it, right?
I'm doing good, man. It feels like a minute since I've been here. It's been about a week or so. But, you know, it is the dead of June, and we are in the kind of the dead zone right now for Packers content. But guess what? We're here. We're ready. And we've got some good stuff to talk about today, don't we?
Yeah, man. I'm excited about it, man. Let's start this thing off. First of all, want to give a shout out to Mac Inc. And go ahead and talk about our little promotion we're doing. That's going to be ending here in just a couple of days. Okay, we're basically helping raise awareness, help raise some funds for My Autism Connection, building hope, community, and independence for autistic adults. What we're doing, guys, we're giving away an autographed Dorsey Levens jersey. If you go over to my Twitter account at Packers_access, you'll see a link there. It's pinned at the top of my Twitter page. It's hard to say 3 times fast. It's givebutter.com/KRPSJ5. So for every $5 you donate to that awesome organization, what's going to happen is you're going to be entered into a contest one time. For every $5 you donate 50, you get entered in 10 times, right? And we're going to put everybody's name on a wheel, spin it, and give away an autographed Dorsey Levens jersey. So make sure, if you want to donate to a good cause, give yourself a chance to win an awesome piece of memorabilia, just go to that link on my Twitter account there. Again, we appreciate My Autism Connection partnering up and just giving us an avenue to help raise some awareness and do some good out here, since this show sucks so bad. So, Jacob, let's jump into the first topic here, man. We got a question in our Patreon group, questions for the show. Patreon group's the best way to support what we do here at Packers Total Access, patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. Ron Samble says, if Wicks is still struggling with drops when Watson comes back, how likely is it that he is the receiver cut from the 53? Obviously, Jacob, when you're talking about the receiving room here, man, it's kind of crowded all of a sudden, right? And I know some people believe that our receiving room isn't that good. When you look at it here, starting from the top down, you got, and this is just how it's listed. Obviously, Christian Watson's going to be starting the season on PUP, on IR, so he's in the red here. We got Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden, Romeo Dobbs, Dontavion Wicks, Savion Williams, and of course Christian Watson is going to be on the PUP. Malik Heath, I imagine, will be the 6, or Mecole Hardman. Mecole Hardman obviously making a pretty strong push there with his versatility and being able to be a special teams receiver. So you've already got 6 to 7 receivers there before Watson comes back. I like that Ron asked this question, because as soon as Christian Watson comes back, what do you do, right? Now, going back to his question, if Wicks is still struggling with drops when Watson comes back, how likely is it that he's a receiver cut from the 53? I think it's highly unlikely, but what we're going to do is dive into some numbers real quick and let everybody in the chat kind of tell us what they think. So, Jacob, just right off the bat, man, as far as Wicks, do you see any scenario that when Watson returns that they would just cut him outright? Or in my opinion, I think they would try to trade one of these players, if anything, probably try to get a little bit of compensation, seeing that you're going to be coming out of week 5 bye. There's a chance that Watson comes back right after that, maybe a little bit later. It's kind of lining up for him to return right around the trade deadline. So I could see where a trade would be possible as well. But what do you think, man?
I just don't think that they're ready to cut bait with Wicks yet. And personally, I hope that they wouldn't. I think the guy's got a lot of potential. And it's easy to kind of get distracted with, like you said, how many guys we got in this wide receiver room. And to be honest, I'm a fan of Mecole Hardman, man. The more I listen to him, the more I watch how he does operate he's a seasoned vet, and he's a guy that's been through some of the most critical and winning Super Bowl snap, being literally like game winning snaps in the Super Bowl. Like you can't coach that type of experience kind of thing. But then you look at guys like you talked about, Malik Heath. I still, in my heart of hearts, I can't I can't let him go, man. I can't let Malik Heath go. He's just I love him too much. To me, more likely the scenario other than Dontavian would be the Romeo Dobbs. It just, for whatever reason, it just seems like that's just way more likely. Just seems to fit more with what they'd want to do with the scheme, with the contract, just that whole scenario. And like you said, whether or not Christian Watson comes back at a certain timeline, I feel like him and Dobbs are kind of in that same, like, which one are we going with here? Obviously, Dobbs has had some interactions with some mental stuff, and I say mental like as in concussions, right? And he's wearing the special cap and all that kind of stuff. And he's always been kind of an interesting guy, And I'm not going to claim I'm not a weird dude myself, but
we know Jacob. We know everybody on this show. Everybody that's associated to this show, man. They're
true. The
weirdos.
There's everybody. We're a bunch of freaking weirdos. But I just don't see a scenario where they are willing to give up on Wicks just yet. And maybe, by game 5, if something crazy happens along those lines, maybe I could taste that chicken. But right now, I'm a little too drunk to taste that chicken.
I got you, man. All right. Well, when you're looking at the PFF grades here now, obviously Mecole Hardman only had 115 snaps last year, but he's the highest PFF grade in terms of the receiving room going into this season based off of the 2024 grades. But he had a 72.8. Next is Jaden Reed with a 71.7. Christian Watson with a 70.0. Romeo Dobbs, 69.7. Dontavion Wicks, 65.1. Bo Melton, 63.2. Malik Heath, 62.9. And again, I know there's some people that are going to be against PFF grades. I got you. I completely understand. It's a metric that we use along with a multitude of other things. We'll look at some of the stats from NFL Pro here in a second. But Ron Sample, who asked the questions in the chat, he said, I agree. It's unlikely. Clint Cosgrove says, I don't like it, but I think they trade Dobbs. And that's what we were kind of thinking too. Like, I think there's a greater chance that they let Dobbs go or trade Dobbs as opposed to Dontavion Wicks. And one of the reasons being is Dontavion Wicks has 2 more years left on his contract this year and next year. We're in the final year of Romeo Dobbs' contract. So if you don't see him as being in the long-term future, the long-term plans of the Packers, that's the guy you're probably going to look to deal, I would imagine. Also in the chat here, Drew D says it would be middle of the season, and if he's still having bad hands, that's a very bad sign. Completely agree, Drew. His rookie year looked pretty solid, right? Last year, the drops were an issue. Although I will say this, much like Jaden Reed, the last 5 or 6 games of the season, if I remember correctly, Dontavion Wicks really cleaned the drops up. So we're kind of remembering that first half, maybe first 3 quarters of the season. But I'm with you, man. If he comes out and he's got bad hands again, not looking good. Let's see here. We got 11 Rydell. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Hardman over Heath. It's funny. If I had to choose today, Hardman or Heath, I'm going with Hardman probably because you got that guy.
That's crazy. I think I would too. And that's crazy because I love Heath. Like I actually it'd be tough for me to pick another guy over Malik Heath because I feel like he's put in that work. He's a blocker. He's a dog. I really believe he's a true boundary receiver. But there's something about Mecole Hardman that just says that this guy's a professional and he's not messing around. I watched an interview with him as well, where it's just like he understands Green Bay. He's accepted the culture. He knows the what it means to be a Green Bay Packer. And I don't think he's just a special team / gadget guy. I think he's actually a type of receiver that could actually help us in the offensive game, taking the top off the defense and et cetera.
Yeah, I think it's very well said. And since we're talking Heath here, let's just look at the next gen stats here. This is NFL Pro next gen stats. Obviously, just basic stats here. Jaden Reed led the way at 857 yards receiving and 6 touchdowns. Christian Watson was 620 and 2 touchdowns. The thing I always want to point out with Christian Watson's numbers, guys, 21.4 yards per reception is insane. That's wild. Next, you got Romeo Dobbs, 601 yards with 4 touchdowns. And then you've got Dontavion Wicks, 415 with 5 touchdowns. Then Malik Heath, only 97 receiving yards with 2 touchdowns. I believe this is through this is just a regular season. So this doesn't include the one playoff game, but just keep that in mind. Bo Melton finished with 91 yards. Now, the thing that sticks out when you look at Malik Heath, let's go catch percentage now, right? When it goes catch rate, he led the team in catch rate. Now, granted, it was only 10 catches, right? But he had a 76.9% catch percentage. Look at Dontavion Wicks Center, 51.3, right? And Jaden Reed was at a 73.3. People, were acting like Jaden Reed had this horrible drop problem. I'm telling you, man, you got to be careful where you get your information from, because with these drops here, we can click on this convenient little tab, look at every single target and every single catch, and you can determine on those targets in between those catches whether it was a drop or not. Also, the thing that sticks out here when it comes to Malik Heath, another statistic, is notice the catch rate over expected. Mm-hmm. He led the team at 9.7%, right? So when we're talking about keeping Mecole Hardman over Malik Heath, it's not like this huge slam dunk to me. I mean, obviously, Hardman is faster. Hardman is more versatile. He can play that F. He can take jet sweeps, things like that, where Malik Heath doesn't have that burst. But we can't discount the fact that Malik Heath was so good with catch percentage and his catch rate over expected. His receiving EPA a little bit lower here at 7.4. So, but you see Dontavion Wicks down here, man, receiving EPA minus 12.9. So when you look at everything, you take everything into consideration, Jake, it kind of feels like Dontavion Wicks is the weakest link of those three receivers. But again, man,
but he's drafted.
Yeah, he's got two more years on that contract. So
yeah,
it makes you think they'd probably hold on to him.
That's kind of my biggest thing here is when you look at a lot of the metrics, like you said, it's unfortunate that Dontavion is kind of towards the bottom of them. But I would argue too that, like you said, Malik Heath, man, you watch some of the stuff, even with his highlights at Ole Miss, he was a possession type receiver where he would pick the ball out of the air. He'd make something out of nothing. I can't remember the game, and I wish I could. I wish I was more like Tim, where he can kind of just remember dates and times and games and all that. But he caught a ball, I believe, like on the 5, made a dude miss, like threw him off him, didn't make a miss, like didn't juke him, like threw a guy off him and like dove towards the end zone and made a catch. And I just remember watching that, and we've all seen obviously when he does the block the guy into the freaking cooler highlight too, right? So Malik Heath just is kind of like, he's an old school wide receiver that I think has a lot more twitch and a lot more finesse to him that people give him credit for. And don't get me wrong, I want Dontavion to be that type of guy because he is different. Like the route running. Remember when he first came out, we're like, dang, we haven't seen route running like that. Like he's crisp. He is Devontae Adams level crisp. That's what they were comparing him to. And that's a big comparison, right? For him to live up to. So maybe he got a little bit, I don't want to say awestruck or whatever, but that first year looked very tight. Like you said, he took a step back in year 2. A lot of the guys didn't have a great year lately. So I think that if he has that dog in him, he's gonna refine his game. He's gonna come back ready, and knowing that this is the type of competition he's gonna have in the wide receiver room, I think we're gonna get the best Dontavion Wicks. And if not, then we'd have a conversation about maybe dispersing him at a certain time, right?
Right. Ed Madden in the chat says, I think Wicks will be better holding on to the ball. He gets open. I like Hardman, but I can see Heath making the 53 because of his blocking. That's another great man. We don't call him water cooler for nothing. If you guys don't remember that preseason game where he literally blocked a cornerback from the boundary, over the white line, past the bench, and right into the water cooler. It was unbelievable. I mean, the dude.
To the water boy, the cooler.
He's a grown-ass man out there playing receiver. There's no doubt about it, man. Coach Lynn says they would not cut Wicks. Too much talent and a great blocker. That's another thing, too. He'll get in there and dig them safeties out when they got him in the F. He ain't scared of it. And in terms of the talent, Jacob, there's not many people in the league that has a route running ability that Wicks has. I mean, that's been talked about by a multitude of former players. The problem is you got to catch the damn ball. Yeah,
like I mentioned earlier, like his route running was compared to Devontae Adams when he came in, saying like the dude's, he's crispy, you know what I mean? And one thing you would talk about, like you just said, the blocking ability. I randomly was looking through my Facebook reels, just kind of doom scrolling, and it came to that the Tucker Kraft touchdown where he gets it thrown to him. I think it was like kind of like a swing pass off the left hand side. He rolls up the sideline and he's got 2 guys to beat. He's stiff arm. It's against the Rams, I believe. He stiff arms the one guy, and he's got another guy to beat. Dontavion Wicks absolutely seals off this guy. Just completely seals him off to the point where Tucker just has to do a little side swipe, getting past him. And like you said, that's something you can't really teach wide receivers. They either got it or they don't. Like they're willing to go out there and put their neck on the line to help their fellow teammates. So to me, it's way too early, in my opinion, to give up on Dontavian. I just think Dontravian, isn't that correct?
Dontravian Wicks.
Yes. I just think that it's way too early. Give the guy another year or two at least, and with such a quiet wide receiver room, I think that we're going to see a few freaking gems just arise out of nowhere.
It's always worth mentioning too, and we talk about this all the time, as we're leading up to training camp, and even throughout the duration of training camp, we're talking about, man, who's going to make the 53? Who's going to be here? Who's going to be there? And typically, there's injuries that decide that for us. Somebody will go on the pup, somebody will go on the IR for 4 weeks, and that'll kind of trigger the initial 53-man roster. Greg Rice in the chat said, didn't Wicks lead the team in targets? Yes, he did. He had 76 targets. Jaden Reed had 75. Romeo Doubs 72. And this kind of goes back to the Romeo Doubs thing. They wanted Dontavian Wicks to be able to take that boundary X position away from Romeo Doubs. Romeo Doubs is our best boundary X. There's no doubt about it in my mind. Now, when they started trying to force Dontavian Wicks into that, the reason they did is because they're looking at that contract. That's what I think. And that's what ticked Romeo Doubs off. And I'm not justifying Romeo Doubs getting upset about that. It obviously led to a suspension. He's seen the writing on the wall, I think, that, hey, I'm getting ready to go into the last year of my contract. This dude's younger than me. He's a better route runner than me. He don't have the hand. He don't have near as good a hands as Romeo Doubs. Don't get me wrong. But I think he was going in kind of like, hey, I've got to do something to try to secure this, because they're literally taking reps away from me and giving them to him. It didn't work out for Dontavian Wicks, that's for sure. And then, of course, Romeo Doubs with the 2 concussions as well. That doesn't bode very well. So for me, I think Doubs of the 3 would be the most likely to be tradable. Malik Heath, nobody's going to offer a draft pick for him. Dontavian Wicks, I think they want to see if he can put it all together like he did his rookie year, kind of get a jump, on that and come back to that rookie form, especially with that route running ability. So to me, it just seems like there's more things in the box for Romeo Doubs to get traded than anyone else. So let's see, let's go back to the chat. 11, Ryle Deal. He used to have a normal, I can't think of his name. He used to have a normal, easy to read name there. Everybody always changes their names up on me. 100% would be a trade. No way Doubs or Wicks are cut. Completely agree with that, man. Completely agree with it. King Cheddar says, I think Doubs will get traded to the NFC West. I could see that, man. The Rams, same system. The 49ers, same system, essentially, same terminology.
Do you think there's any credence to that he'll go to Pittsburgh and just have that? Because people say, oh, he's with Aaron, but I feel like Aaron wasn't quite fond of, you know what I mean? Like, it's like they're acting like they're Rodgers and Devontae. It's not that way.
Yeah, it's definitely not on that level of Devontae, obviously. But also, I think it was blown way out of proportion when what Romeo Doubs said that made everybody all of a sudden assume and believe that Aaron Rodgers and him didn't get along was, he said, I appreciate everything that Aaron Rodgers did for me, but outside of football, we never really talked that much.
No.
Jordan's my guy, because him and Jordan spent a lot of time together leading up, even before he got into the league. They were working out
off
together.
Seasons and shit. Yeah.
Right. So anyway, so yeah, I think that was kind of blown out of proportion, but I understand what you're saying too, Jacob. I don't see how Romeo Doubs is this huge, like Aaron's out there pounding the table going, we got to get this kid. We got to get this kid. So I just don't see it happening. Let's see here. Chuck in the chat says Doubs only had 4 touchdowns, ? That is correct, according to NFL Pro, sir. So, yeah, kind of surprising. The year before, I want to say he had almost 10. Like, he had like 8 or 9 or something crazy, right? Drew D in the chat says a bunch of Reed's drops were from Love throwing ducks while injured. Yeah, there were some bad throws in there. We kind of talked about that. It's amazing how a receiver sits down in his zone, the ball's off the mark, he lays out full extension to dive for the ball. It hits his hands, and PFF's writing articles about how he dropped the ball. That blows my mind. Lorenzo in the house, good to see you, buddy. Says, Golden the number 1 wide receiver or just a deep threat? Don't know much about him. In my opinion, Lorenzo, nobody's a number 1 until they prove it. To me, what you're going to get with Golden is you're going to get really good hands. He attacks the football. He's got strong hands. He's got really, really good body control. He's very smooth in his route running. As Aaron Rodgers said, he was very polished, I think was the word he used, coming out of out of mini camp there. So we'll see, man. We'll keep our eye on this whole receiver thing and see if one of these three players may be traded. If it's Romeo Dobbs, if it's Dontavion Wicks, it's all going to come down to how people perform in camp, and then obviously injuries. Go ahead, Jake.
No, I was just gonna say, I have a weird suspicion that for whatever reason that Savion Williams is just going to be a bigger component to this offense that people are thinking he is. And I think I can't remember if I watched a press conference with, I can't remember if it was the OC or something, that I just like they name dropped him to a point, like in a certain situation, in a certain sentence where I was like, that's not just a coach speak type thing. Like he's like, we want to get him involved in as many things. Like he can take it out the backfield. He can go through, obviously on the bottom, he can work in the slot. He can do. And I'm just thinking like, man, maybe they are that confident their wide receiver room is so deep that there could be a potential trade for one of these guys. Like you said, we need to see it from Golden. We need to see it from Savion. We have to understand that these guys are actually worth the draft positions that we put in them. And isn't that weird though? I mean, like, I can't remember the last time we had a first and third round receiver that were like, all right, show us what you got, boys. Like that's crazy.
And the thing about Savion is he was not utilized as a true wide receiver at TCU. He's a gadget guy, right? He was a gadget guy. They'd put him at Wildcat quarterback. They'd run him out of the backfield. When he did get those reps, his contested catch rate was unbelievable. Like he was so good at going up and getting those 50-50 balls. But on the flip side, he had a ton of wide open drops too. So you really don't know what you're getting with Savion yet, but I do think he will surprise people at how polished he is as a receiver, just because people see the college tape and think, well, they didn't use him there because he couldn't do it. I think he can. I really do. Coach Lynn can create separation also in a hurry. I mean, there were some routes, wasn't there, Coach, where he was breaking people's ankles in college.
You look at his separation percentage and his high point capability and his contested catch rate, it's like 89% or something like that. Like the dude, like you said, he's a gadget guy kind of thing. But he's not just a gadget guy. Like when they put him on the X, when they made him do, geez, come on. when they put him out there, like he legit goes up, man. He makes those plays. Like he is not just I think he's a blessing that he had that for TCU because he could. Dude, they throw him at quarterback. They throw him in the Wildcat. They throw him at tight end. They put him everywhere.
He was in the slot. They throw him over at Z. He was all over the place, all over the joint. Ed Madden says, I'm trying to temper my expectations for Savion. He could be a nightmare for defenses. I agree, man. That's the right way to approach it. And then if he's a hit, right? So that's going to do it for that little segment there. Jacob, we'll go ahead and wrap up the wide receiver talk. Just wanted to kind of touch on the possibilities of those trades. And it looks like we got a celebrity in here. AFAM's mom said, Jacob, stop leaving me on read.
My phone died, baby. I don't know what to tell you. I got a new number. Who it is?
Oldest excuse in the book. All right, let's move it along here, man. Let's talk a little offensive line. Let's talk about the hog mollies up front. PFF put an article together here, offensive tackle rankings, top 32 ahead of the 2025 NFL season. So I think this is really cool because, obviously there's 32 teams. And I think the root of this article was to go, hey, who are the top tackles from each team? But it doesn't fall that way, right? There's going to be some teams that have multiple tackles that make this list, and there might be a team or two that didn't have a single tackle on the list. And the reason I want to start with tackle is because it is a tier 1 position of importance, right? Offensive tackle and quarterback on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side, it's edge defender and 3-tech, defensive tackle. Okay, those are what I see as the 4 most important positions in all of football. So let's start with a tier 1 position here at offensive tackle and go right down the list. Number 1, from the Philadelphia Eagles, Jordan Mailata. Number 2, Tristan Wirfs from Tampa Bay. Number 3, Rashawn Slater from the Los Angeles Chargers. Number 4, Trent Williams from the San Francisco 49ers. 5, Lane Johnson from the Eagles. So the Eagles have 2 tackles in the top 5 on this list. Wild to think about. Number 6, Penei Sewell from the Detroit Lions. Number 7, Christian Darrisaw from the Vikings. Seen a couple NFC North teams appearing here. Laramie Tunzel in the number 8 spot. With the Washington Commanders. And then at number 9, Jacob, we have our very own Zach Tom. Here's what it says. Tom has gradually improved during his 3 seasons in the league. He ranked 40th with a 68.3 PFF overall grade as a rookie. Remember that, guys. We talk about this every year. If a rookie grades out in the 60s, their rookie year, I'm telling you, you want to put a bullseye on that dude and go watch him next year. He's going to really excel. We've seen it year after year that when players do that, the next year they take this pretty big jump. As you see here, he improved to 15th with a 79.7 PFF overall grade in 2023, and then finished 6th with an 85.8 PFF overall grade in 2024. His 87.8 PFF run blocking grade this past season ranked 3rd among all offensive tackles. The Wake Forest product got off to a hot start in pass protection in 2024, not allowing a single pressure in 4 of his first 6 games. Zach Tom, got to give that man his money, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, we do. And, all the hype about the Jair stuff and other contract talks, like this to me is the most important one. Like, if we can just lock this dude down, do it now. You know what I mean? Let's don't wait until he starts testing the market, looking at what other people are doing, kind of thing. I would really just love to Zach Tom. He seems like a Packer. What was he, a 4th round pick, right? That's what they said there.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
I'll never forget Ryan all of a sudden, like right before the draft, being like, "Hey, Zach Tom, like freaking watch this guy." I think that's maybe one of his best calls that he'd ever said. Is calling that shot, and I can't help but agree. I mean, you just watch that progression. That's exactly what we look for every single time we're watching for PFF, and PFF isn't everything. We always say that, we preface that, but you look at that progression, that to me shows that a guy knows what he's doing. He's a freaking dog, and he's ready to get his money. So give him the money. Let's do it in the most efficient way possible and quickly as possible.
Yeah. Andy Monday says Tom's run grade and pass pro grade are balanced well too. Yep. So balanced. And, that's something that, like we talk about with Rasheed Walker, great pass blocker. Here they go. Wilding out. Something about that.
Get out of there, Emilio.
Yeah, there goes when Lincoln goes downstairs. When Lincoln gets his 125-pound butt off this couch and walks downstairs, something's about to go down. No doubt about it. So he says Tom's run grade and pass pro grade are balanced well too. Andy Monday did, not my dog Lincoln. It's a great point. And again, with Rasheed Walker, got to get that run blocking up. Got to get it up. Right. And that's what's preventing him from making the big bucks. That and his draft status was, it's one thing to say a 4th round pick. Okay, he ended up being a stud. We'll pay him big money. 7th rounder, it's almost like you got to continue to prove it, as Mark Tauscher always says on his daily show. He says 1st round talents all have to prove they don't belong. Right. 1st round picks have to prove they don't belong. 7th round picks have to constantly prove that they do belong. That's just the way it is. He was a 7th round pick. He would know, right? And let's see what else here in the chat.
I mean, just look at Walker. He's got to deal with it right now. You know.
Clint Cosgrove in the chat says he finished 6th and is rated 9th. That's what we're talking about with PFF in these articles. Like, how does your grading system have him 6th, but you've got him 9 on the list, right? And even if those numbers aren't accurate, I'm telling you, man, it's like that with just about every position. It's wild. Drew D says, pay the man now. He's being reasonable, man.
Yeah.
Could not agree more, Drew. Like, and again, that information was not leaked out by the Green Bay Packers. That was leaked out by Zach Tom's camp. He's asking for, what was it, Jacob, 4 years, $25 million per. So didn't get into the details of I want $80 million guaranteed or I want $60 million guaranteed. Just give me 40 years, $100 million. That's 25 per, whether it's 30 million or if it's like what Chris says here, 100 million overall contract with 50 million guaranteed. Tommy boy, I would give him 50 mil. I'd give him 50 mil guaranteed for sure.
I would. I mean, just do it now and lock it up and just don't like I said, don't create drama, please. And somebody else said it in the chat. I can't find it, but it's just to me, it's just. We don't want to be the Bengals, right? You know what I mean? We're like, you have some of the best players in the league and everyone's pissed. Like they're just constantly pissed. There's always drama. It's like, just get these guys signed, get them in camp, get them going so that we can start progressing in the right way. Because when money gets involved, I feel like it's just going to burn the whole thing down,
Yeah. Couldn't agree more, man. Let's go down this list a little further here. We got Bernhard Raymond, I think is how you say the name, Indianapolis. Ryman, okay.
Remember? You don't remember him? That was one of the guys that I was so excited about in one of our drafts. Yeah.
Yeah, he's getting better every year. 73, 82, 85. Let's see here. Number 11.
Me and Tim were high on him quite a bit.
Number 11, Garrett Bowles, Denver Broncos. Number 12, Colton Miller of the Raiders. Number 13, Charles Cross of the Seahawks. 14, Paris Johnson of the Cardinals. 15, Andrew Thomas of the Giants. 16, Joe Alt from the Chargers. 17, Deion Dawkins from the Bills. 18, Brian O'Neill from the Vikings. 19, Alaric Jackson from the Rams. 20, Jake Matthews from the Falcons. He's still doing it at a high level.
That's one of Clay's relatives.
That's Clay's
right?
cousin. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. 21, Braden Smith of the Colts. 22, Taylor Moulton of the Carolina Panthers. 23, Ronnie Stanley of the Ravens. 24, Taylor Decker of the Lions. 25, Braxton Jones of the Bears. 26, Darnell Wright of the Bears. 27, Spencer Brown of the Bills. 28, Rob Havenstein of the Rams. 29, Luke Gadecki of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Another one.
Yep. 30, Caleb McGarry of the Falcons. And then 31, Rasheed Walker, the Green Bay Packers. So what you've got here, Jacob, is 2 number 1 caliber offensive tackles that is on your roster right now. Yeah. Now, when you see that number 31 for Rasheed Walker, does that make you want to go, let's pay him too? Or do you think that's a lot of money to be paying Aaron Banks, Zach Tom, Elton Jenkins, and Rasheed Walker? It's a lot. I mean, you're talking about paying 4 offensive linemen top money.
Yeah.
Kind of tough. What do you think, man?
So what makes me more frustrated about this conversation is the fact that we have to have this conversation, is that we know what Zach Tom is. We know what Elton Jenkins is. We've seen what Rasheed Walker is. I don't know what Aaron Banks is. And we've paid him big time money to the point where we upset another one of our guys, Elton Jenkins, who we claim is going to be one of our, staples of this organization. And we just expect him to move from guard to tackle to center. And we say, just, like it. And by the way, we're going to be paying other guys big time money while you're doing that. And so I honestly, if I had to put myself in his shoes, I see that. But at the same time, you can't pay 5 guys. You really can't pay 4 guys. And somehow we're almost there, and most teams don't pay 3 guys that type of money. You know what I'm saying? So, and we have, I believe, at least 3 guys that deserve paying. And the fact that maybe the Rasheed is just a 7th rounder, again, he kind of gets tossed aside. Like, hey, he's a 7th rounder. It doesn't matter. He's a great tackle in the league. Somebody's going to beg. They're going to be salivating and drooling at the fact that we're going to let a guy like Rasheed Walker get out of contract. I mean, it's just insane to me. I understand the numbers game is just, it's not an avenue I want to go down, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Andy Monday says, if Goody gets the Tom extension done sooner than Elton Jenkins, does that speed up Elton Jenkins getting into camp or upset him? That's a great question, because you could look at it both ways, right? If Tom gets his extension and Elton's wanting more guaranteed money, I could see how it would tick him off, Jacob. Like, okay, you can give this guy who's not been on the team near as long as me all this guaranteed money, but you can't sweeten the pot a little bit more for me. I can see how that would upset it. But also, if Zach Tom gets that extension, the Packers could also go back to Elton and be like, hey, man, he's already in camp. I want to say that. Let me clear that up, Andy Money. He is in camp. He's just doing the hold in. And I'm pretty sure you understand that too. I mean, he's just not participating. So it also gives the Packers a little bit of firepower to go to Elton's camp and be like, yeah, man, this dude's participating in practice. What do you want me to do? Your guy isn't. So I don't disagree with Elton Jenkins sitting out the practices. I don't at all. However, you can understand the Packers looking at it a little bit different in that regard. Like, hey, look, we need you to contribute then. You need to prove that you can play center for us, right? As silly as that sounds, but Elton Jenkins I think he's going to be a damn good center. I do. Chris in the chat says they can pay Sheed 2, not paying 1 pass catcher. This year they could, right, Chris? And even next year they could. But the problem is Christian Watson's coming up for a contract. And if you pay Sheed, if you give him a 4-year deal, which is probably what he's going to be looking for, right? If you give him a 4-year deal, guess what happens in year 2 of his deal? Jaden Reed's up for a contract. Yeah. So you've got to kind of project, you got to model your roster out. And when you do it from that perspective, you got to look at 2-3 years down the road, like, oh yeah, that's right. This guy's going to be coming up for a contract. Now I know by that time, Elton Jenkins' money will probably be coming off the books and you'll be paying 3. The problem is you're only going to pay 2 is what they've done in the past. 2 like top money.
Yeah. Do you think that it's worth it all for the Packers to offer him a 1-year prove-it deal or to franchise him, or do they just let him, run the contract out? Like, yeah. Is there any benefit there to just doing one of those things? Like, to me, it's almost kind of one in the same vein, right?
Yeah, you could. And the reason being is the salary cap is so manageable when it comes to guaranteed money. And even with franchise tags, you can spread that out because it's fully guaranteed. You can spread that out over voidable years. So if you want to get very aggressive with the salary cap moving forward and tack on 2 or 3 voidable years on the Rasheed Walker, let's say Rasheed Walker, they don't get the extension done. And then you go into this season and he just balls out. He's a top 10 tackle. Then you hit him with the franchise tag, tack on 3 or 4 voidable years onto that thing, and then you could spread that franchise tag out, a good chunk of it, over 3 or 4 voidable years, and then try to get a contract extension done. That's another way you can kind of bridge the gap. But again, I go off of precedent, and I know it's a boring way of looking at things, but it's the most realistic way of looking at how the Packers and this front office has modeled out rosters for, through the last 2 GMs. When was the last time they paid 3 offensive linemen top money?
I mean, yeah,
it's been I don't know if it's ever happened, to be honest with you. So, and let's assume that Elton Jenkins comes off the books next year. Let's say that he's not on the roster next year. You're going to have Tom with a big contract. You're going to have Aaron Banks with a big contract. So Rasheed Walker will be that third that they usually don't do. So that's the biggest issue I have with that. Now, if they go to Sheed and say, hey, $10 million average annual per, and we'll give you, let's say they offer him a 4-year, $40 million, but guarantee $30 million of it, right? That might be a little more enticing to him, where he might get similar guaranteed money to Zach Tom, but not as much long-term security on the surface. But when you do that contract with Tom, you do a 4-year deal, as we always say. 4-year deal is really just a 3-year deal because the way we structure it with the front-loaded guaranteed money. So it's another way of looking at it, another thing you got to kind of take into consideration as well. Andy Monday says, sounds like Rasheed's walking. See what you did there, sir. It's tough, man, because I think somebody's going to pay him, Jacob. I mean, you see the PFF.
I really think that's. I mean, look, John Runyon got paid.
Right.
He got a bank. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so I do not see a world where a guy like Rasheed. I mean, I've loved the guy since we found that first couple of them. Let's say finishing the defense over there. He just is a dog, man, and he comes in, competes, and he's a 7th round pick too, right? 7th rounder.
Who's that?
Rasheed.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, the guy just the definition of outperforming your draft stock. I mean, the guy has absolutely done exactly what they want, and that's the only thing is it personally and emotionally, like I'm tied to those 7th rounders that just come in and they absolutely put their nose down. They're like, I'm gonna be a guy in this league. I'm gonna be a starter. And let alone when he does perform to the point where like you just showed, he is a starter. He's a top 31, 32 type guy that is deserving to be paid. But like we don't have him.
Stop looking. Yeah. Stop looking at I can't wait to find out who's got that account. I got a pretty good idea of who created that account. Boy, I'm telling you, it makes things interesting. If you're new here, this is your first time watching the show, you're going, what are y'all laughing about? Hang around. You'll go, oh yeah, I get it now. These people in the chat, they're the most toxic human beings you'll ever meet, and I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest with you. So Ron Sample said top teams are paying multiple linemen, Philly, Detroit, etc. I'd have to look at their roster. I mean, we're seeing multiple tackles on that list that we just covered. I'm sure you're telling the truth there, Ron. But when I'm talking about precedent, I'm not talking about precedent across the league. I'm talking about the Packers. And it does make you ask, right, Ron? It makes you think like, should we change that? Should we shift our focus a little bit there? You know what I mean? Because that's been something the Packers have done for a while. I mean, I remember when David Bakhtiari took over at left tackle. Everybody's like, oh, boy, we're screwed. This dude's like a 4th or a 5th round pick. What are we going to do? Right. And then you look up, and he's one of the best tackles in the league. So
yeah, that's where I like Daryl says, he goes, Sheed's an average blocker unless he changes the way he blocks. He's a top 10 pass blocker in the league. He just isn't great at run blocking, I think is his biggest knock, and the fact that he has that 7th round stigma is what I would say is his biggest. But he's going to get paid. He's going to get paid big money. Yeah,
as Coach Lynn says, great ROI for Walker so far, man. Yep. You ain't even kidding, Buck. You ain't kidding at all. That's what you're looking for right there in a draft pick. And what's crazy is, and this is why it's important to, even when players get on the field, as Packer fans, we're so impatient with them. Like, come on, put it together, right? Rasheed Walker didn't start a single game his rookie year. It was his second year that he came out, right, and competed with, I'm trying to think, was it Caleb Jones, I think?
Yeah.
And he beats him out and runs away with that. I think that's who he was competing with. He runs away with that job, and it's been his since. So, it might have been even his third year before he started, every game. But the point there is we got to be a little more patient with these players. Like LVN getting on the field, we done his chalk talk the other night. You see him having an impact on the game if you know what to look for. If you're not just listening to, I want to say the station so bad. If you're not listening to certain sports talk where they're gonna cherry pick 2 or 3 snaps where he looked bad, and we're going through and finding 20 snaps where he was, hey, look, this dude he's got some bright moments. He's not lived up to the 13th pick yet, but he's got some bright moments. So it's important to take the whole body of work into evaluation there. And Coach Lynn, I think you hit the nail on the head, man. That ROI on Walker, my God. Since we're on the topic, Jacob, let's go real quick and talk centers. PFF center rankings top 32 ahead of the 2025 NFL season. Creed Humphrey, number 1. Let that still break your heart, man. If you're wondering what we're talking about, guys, Creed Humphrey was selected 1 pick after Josh Myers. Yeah. And he's arguably the best center in the game. Number 2, Tyler Linderbaum. I remember him coming out in the draft. We had a high draft grade on him. Zach Frazier, number 3 from the Steelers.
Zach Frazier was the guy. I tried to mock draft, and everybody yelled at me. Remember that?
They're still yelling, Jacob. I'm trying to think of which year that was. Yeah, we had him as the second best center on our draft board in 2020 or 2024 draft. Yep. Jackson Powers Johnson Jr. was the first one, and then it was Zach Frazier. That's how we had him ranked there. So, yeah, I want to say he had a wrestling background too. I'm not 100% sure, but nonetheless, Zach Frazier's a dog. Number 4, Eric McCoy with the Saints. Number 5, Drew Dahlman with the Chicago Bears. Obviously, a free agent signing we had talked about potentially picking up. Number 6, Connor McGovern from the Buffalo Bills. Number 7, Aaron Brewer from the Dolphins. Number 8, Ryan Kelly from the Vikings. And number 9, we have very own Elton Jenkins of the Green Bay Packers. Says after playing primarily at guard throughout his NFL career, Jenkins will make the jump to center in 2025. He has logged just 378 snaps at center in his pro career, but has experience there from college, giving hope that his overall ability will translate. Jenkins' 81.6 PFF pass blocking grade over the last 2 seasons ranks 2nd among guards. So it'd probably be 1st among centers, I would imagine. Probably pretty darn close there. So Elton Jenkins projected to be a top 10 center going into this season. Jacob, what do you think about it, man?
I hope so. I mean, it's just one of those things where we just assume it's a plug and play because we've been told it's a plug and play type situation. But, the only situational evidence we have, wasn't it in the Philly game or something like that, where he got kicked inside or one of those games where like
Detroit. I remember
Detroit.
Yeah.
And it didn't go well. If I'm not thinking correctly.
He had a couple bad snaps, and it was, of course, it was a downpour, right?
But okay, that's what it was. Okay, I remember that. Yeah, so there was pouring rain, and it's like we're trying to expect this guy just to switch positions and
right
and do well, like really do well. I'm excited honestly about it because we've always been told that Elton's such a great center. I just want to see it actually come to fruition, and I'm excited. I'm excited for it. Like Coach Lynn saying, what about Sean Ryan? That's another puzzle piece. What do you think about that claim?
Yeah, Sean Ryan, I think he provides good value. He can start at guard for you.
Whoa.
You're wanting Jordan Morgan to take a huge, huge step is what you're wanting, right? But in a pinch, Sean Ryan can play center. So if Jacob Monk doesn't work out as your backup center, right, then you can fall back on Sean Ryan. That could be huge. So I like that. I think that he's ideally, coach, a backup. Yeah, and we talk about you want that backup swing tackle. I think that'll be Anthony Belton, and then you want that backup swing guard. I'm hoping that's Sean Ryan. You got Aaron Banks at left guard, you got Jordan Morgan at right guard, and then you've got Sean Ryan as the backup guard. I love that. And then Anthony Belton could be that backup swing guard as well, the way they've talked about him. But at tackle, if you got Rasheed Walker at left tackle, you've got Zach Tom at right tackle. And then you've got Anthony Belton as the swing tackle. You could also kick Jordan Morgan over there. He's cross-training at left tackle, which he played his entire career before he got in the NFL at left tackle, so he's got some experience there as well. One thing I feel comfortable saying, this offensive line got a lot better from last year. And that offensive line was a big reason why we lost that game to the Eagles in in the playoffs there. So let's see here. United Bates says Zach Frazier, 4 wrestling state champs in high school, 159-2 record. He's a dog. Clint just said 159-2. Wow. Yeah.
That's Brock Lesnar numbers, dude. That's crazy.
If you guys will remember, when we were doing our draft board this year, we had the little wrestling emoji, right? The dude, the wrestling emoji. That's why. I'm telling you, man, especially interior offensive linemen, if they have a wrestling background, boy, oh boy, do they.
Which makes you think the movie of their placements wasn't that far off. Remember what they did? Right. They went and got like sumo wrestlers and man, I almost swore again. Jeepers.
It's one of those nights, Jake.
Getting spicy.
Coach Lynn says Sean Ryan played solid for us is also improving, in my opinion. I agree. Coach, you remember he got suspended his rookie year, and they wouldn't hardly put him on the field his second year, right? Then last year, all of a sudden, Jordan Morgan, a first-round pick, couldn't beat him out, couldn't completely beat him out for the right guard job.
So one of the only listeners that's ever been like, hey, are you Jacob from the podcast? And I was like, yeah, oh my God. Guy named Terry. Terry comes to the gym I work at. Terry was like, hey, didn't Sean Ryan get suspended for PEDs his rookie year? And I was like, no, I don't think that happened. And he's like, no, it did. And I was like, yeah, I'll look it up. Sure enough, Terry, you were right. He got suspended for wasn't it like the last half of the season, the whole last half of his rookie season. And I was like, wow, okay. And I didn't ever think about that progression stopper for him as a player. You know what I mean? Like when we drafted him, he was kind of like that. If he like you said, he's a wrestler that maybe has made a late transition, has the best hair on the team for sure. But the type of guy that it sounds like he's kind of goofy. He's a funny guy. I just really think that he could take a step that nobody's seeing coming. That could be. We have so many guys that if they take that last step or the final step into being a pro on every level, dude, like guys like Musgrave, guys like Ryan, guys like, on the defensive line, everybody from Wood and Brooks, everybody you want to name, guys like, who I'm more impressed with, and I don't want to sideline this, but Isaiah Simmons.
Yeah.
Did you watch? I was trying to just get caught up, dude. The 20-minute interview he has on the Green Bay Packers official website is very, very telling. I mean, to the point where I'm starting to root for the guy. And I honestly think that from what Hafley has told him, according to him, one thing I know you love, Clayton, he said one of the things he's talked about is that when I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, I let God be my eyes. Oh, yeah. That's what he said. And he's like, being in New York, they never let me settle down in a position where I could be
getting in Arizona either.
Not in Arizona. I was just going to say he started at slot.
You know
why? He started at cornerback. He started at edge. He started at DT, and it's crazy.
Yeah, because you're talking about the Giants and the Cardinals.
They don't know what they're doing. Do you understand that?
No, they don't. All right, guys, that's going to do it. We're going to get out of here. We appreciate everybody hanging out. This is a lot of fun. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new here. Appreciate y'all taking time out of your Saturday evening to talk ball with us. This was fun. The chat was absolutely awesome in here. Everybody, thank y'all for contributing. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing our giveaway, an autographed Kingsley and Igbare rookie card, okay? And you're going, man, I'd like to get myself entered into that giveaway. Here's what you got to do. Just join our Patreon group, patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. So you just, right there it is. And we've got, I think, a QR code I'll throw up here for you guys real quick. I just noticed it wasn't up there. You can scan that QR code in the upper right as well. Again, patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. It's the best way to support what we do here. Anyone who's a member of the $3 tier in there, which is the cheapest tier there is, we'll put your name on the wheel, spin it, and give away that card to whoever it lands on. Also, everyone who is asked about YouTube memberships, joining and being entered in the contest, we're doing that again, okay? So we're going to take them both. If you're a YouTube member here of that group, as well as our Patreon group, you'll be entered into that giveaway. So that's going to do it, guys. Appreciate everybody. We will see you tomorrow for PTA Live, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. We're going to continue these rankings. We got linebacker, safety, edge, running back. We're going to break those down. We've got Josh Jacobs Chalk Talk queued up. We're going to hit that. We're going to break down some tape. We got Jordan Love's 24 passes last year of 20-plus air yards or more that he completed. A lot of fun watching that clip. We'll hit that tomorrow if we have time as well. Got a lot of good content coming up. And, thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. And go Pack, go.
Here we go.
Bye, guys.